Layla finally gets the answers to her father's murder. We're talking about that all right here.
Find out the truth behind Layla's father's death. And that, I thought, was a really powerful scene with her and, Arthur Harrow across this giant dark chasm. These two sides of the coin, the light and the dark. And he's like, by the way, I know what happened to your dad. Marc killed him.
Yeah, so like the whole scene, like I appreciate like us getting confirmation that like Marc has information on the father, and then he goes on to his backstory. But before I touch upon like their confrontation between Marc and Layla with Harrow, it was just strange to me that Layla stayed, right? Layla was across the chasm, already walking out on Harrow, didn't really care what he had to say, so she could continue her mission. But I guess for plot convenience, she's like, you know what do you have to say? And she stays. And I just think that like she didn't need to. It was it was just a strange decision for me that she stayed while she's like all this other stuff is going on, and like you don't have time to like deal with this. You have to go deal with all this other stuff before the end of the world. It was just strange that she took the time to like, all right, tell me your story, old man.
Well, the reason is because he mentioned her dad, right? Like that's the one thing that would stop her in her tracks. Like, hey, I know what happened to him. You're still looking for answers, right? About your father's death. There's so many unknowns within this character of Layla that, oh my God, someone has answers? All right, fine, I'll hear you out. What do you have to say? We kind of get this backstory, right? Which ties into Marc's origin of how he becomes Moon Knight, where he's on this archaeological dig. His partner in question, obviously Marc did not kill him, but he was there. The shocking part, Rob, to me was like, oh, you guys haven't talked about this at all. Like, you went through the whole relationship and you were just like, I'm just going to leave this alone.
Yeah, I don't understand how Marc didn't tell her at all. I feel like it was like the common and nice thing to do was like, hey, this is what happened with your father. And, he had plenty of opportunities. They went on adventures together and all this kind of stuff. It doesn't make sense to me, and I understand why Layla's frustration, from the beginning and throughout this whole episode of like Marc not telling her everything and Marc constantly keeping secrets. It just seems like they're not going to be able to like reconcile this kind of difference.
I think he didn't tell her because he didn't want that in the background to kind of sit there and go, well, this would destroy everything. She would automatically think that, I was here just because of guilt or I had something to do with it.
He didn't want to ruin like what he had going for himself.
Yeah, like he was, maybe he didn't expect it to be a good thing, right? Like love barely is, right? You don't really expect it. It kind of just happened.
I mean, like, I understand honesty is the best policy, but if he was going to divorce her and leave to keep her safe from all this other stuff that's surrounding him, if he never told her that kind of information, she would have never suffered with knowing her lover, the one she trusts a lot, kept the secret. The longer he kept it, he's like, all right, whenever she finds out, it's just going to destroy her. If I never tell her, she never finds out, then, she doesn't have to deal with that pain, which is not a healthy thing to do in your relationships, ladies and gentlemen. Always speak honestly.
So you know what I think it is, Rob? It's when you're at work and someone calls you by the wrong name and they think your name is like Jim and you don't see him for another 3 months or so. And then they say, hey, Jim, what's going on? You're Jim at that point.
Yeah.
Like it's that awkward period where it's like, you know what? It's gone on too long. I just got to be this. Whoever the hell this person thinks I am, I can't correct them now.
It's people pleasing.
It's been way too long. I think that's the case in the relationship where it was just like, you know what? Now we're engaged, now we're married. It's just never going to be talked about. Like, I think it's just going to go away.
I get that. One last thing about this section before we move on, Chris. His partner. Who do you think his partner is? Now, it could just be a run-of-the-mill mercenary or something like that, which I'd be fine with, but with Marvel and us going on these theory crafting, as you do as a Marvel fan, do you think it's any important character in the comics that you're familiar with or that we might see in the MCU?
Yes, absolutely. I think it's either Jean-Paul Ducamp, which we saw in Marc Spector's phone. Yep, we saw on the phone in like episode 1, right? When he's going through it, it's like all the Layla calls, and then one is from Ducamp. But in the comics, Ducamp is more of a sidekick character. He's like the best friend. He's the pilot. He's a mercenary with him.
Okay.
Might be kind of a twist. The other side could be Raoul Bushman. The Bushman in Moon Knight is someone who turns on Marc Spector. He goes and does this huge archaeological investigation / dig site. He ends up killing a doctor there that's, investigating one of these tombs and betrays Marc and betrays him for the power and money. That sounds more like what happened here in this origin story of Marc Spector and what is told to him, but we haven't seen any sign of Bushman at all. So that's why it could be either or.
I got a wild card for you if you're ready for this.
Oh no, here we go.
I think it's the third personality in Marc. I think it's Jake Lockley character, right? That is supposedly coming here. When Stephen Grant was in the back of the police car when Harrow's men grabbed him in the second episode, they said, oh, you killed all these people. He's like, no, I didn't do that. I don't know what you're talking about. He's like, no, I know you didn't do it, Stephen, right? and they left away. That led me to believe that it's one person, and like for some reason he killed all these people. Now with this other piece of information here, we're like, okay, well that was Layla's dad. Okay, obviously he didn't want to do this. He wouldn't have killed all these people. He would just grab the money and go. But maybe Jake's like, no, we have to do this, and if you're not going to do this, I'm going to pull the final trigger, and he shoots himself, right, to like end it, whatever, because he's a wild card. The other little piece of evidence that I have here is at the end, while Marc is opening the tomb that gets Steven out, they walk by another room where there's a tomb there, closed and shaken. Marc looks at it, acknowledges it, and understands what it is, and keeps going. I'm thinking that's Jake, right? That has to be the third personality. The fact that he left him there and was leaving means he doesn't want that person's help. He doesn't trust that person, and he acknowledges that it's there. So if it's Jake Lockley was his partner, and he betrayed himself, and that's like the villain persona, if we want to add a new twist and dark angle to this, which I think would be fun to see in the MCU, that's who I think the partner is. And that's why all of this is happening, and nobody knows what's going on, because he slips out every now and again after being put away and tucked away.
That'd be really interesting, because you would have this third personality in Jake Lockley who's completely different, basically like a villain sociopath. And that's why he's locked away. But I don't think Marc knows about him. I think he's so singular that Marc and Steven clearly don't know about him. I think there's a hint of, whoa, what is that? I don't think they fully understand that it's a third personality yet. There's still that learning curve they have to get over to realize he's real. Who knows? That could totally be a possibility, Rob. He could be the quote-unquote partner that killed them all, and maybe Marc's hiding another secret. I'm very still curious about the Ducamp, voicemail or missed call that's in that phone, as well as the possibility of Bushman, because this kind of lines up with his storyline as well. But I think Jake Lockley is going to tie kind of all of this together, especially the last act of this crazy episode.
Thank you guys for watching that part of the conversation of our Moon Knight episode 4 review. We really hoped you enjoyed it. Let us know what you think down in the comments below.
You guys, thanks so much for watching. Give us a thumbs up, like, really helps the channel out a lot. If you're new, subscribe, turn on the notifications. You don't want to miss any more of our Moon Knight coverage. If you miss anything, it's right here on the channel for you. And as always, my name is Chris Heller. That's Rob Moran. We are the Jersey Comic Crew, and we will see you next time.